Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm excited to have Christy Whitman back. This isn't the last time she'll be back. She has a new book coming out called The Flow Factor, which we're going to talk about very soon, and I'm sure it'll make its way in today's conversation. But Christy and I, in the law of attraction space, in the quantum physics space, sit back and watch people believe or think or react or act to very simple, powerful concepts as if it's the end of the road. And so I know for me, I get you guys in this podcast to be able to work through and teach and talk and address some of the complexities of these simple concepts. But Christy doesn't have that right now. So, I mean, she has her own outlets, but I'm like, well, let's talk about that because as she goes through the same thing, as she sits on the sidelines and watches people go, oh, yeah. And we've both had that experience with law of attraction where people say, oh, I get it. And I'm like, you don't get it then. If this is what you're doing, you don't understand the complexities of this simple idea. So welcome back to the show, Christy.
Thank you, JJ. I'm so glad to have this conversation with you because it brings me back to when I first started my business full time as a coach, because I've been a coach for 25 years. But when The Secret came out, I saw so many people be like, oh, I get it, right? Oh, The Secret. And it's like one law is not enough. And a 2-hour movie cannot tell you all of the ins and outs and complexities about this thing called the law of attraction. It's not that simple. It was a great intro. It gained a lot of people's hope. It taught them the entry level, but think of that as like kindergarten, right? And you and I are master teachers, right? We go deep into a lot of different subjects. So I'm very grateful that you and I get to have this conversation because having something be simple is important so that our minds can get it. But then once you get that, there's a depth that needs to happen. So
Oh, absolutely. And even though I do mainly focus on law of attraction, not in everything that I'm doing, but that sort of is where I started with this idea. And then the questions arise from that. All right, well, why can't I manifest more? Why can't I hold on to it? What is blocking me? What is stopping me? What is my real frequency? Is it my conscious mind? Is it my subconscious mind? How do I test my frequency? How do I see it? So all of the things I've built have come from this idea that taking something simple, understanding its complexities, and then assessing, and all the laws you're going to talk about, I'm sure I do in ways, but I don't teach them. It's more of the, how do I take this one idea and what gets in the way? And so let's go back to how this sort of started. There's a very popular book and or theory going on right now in the world. And God bless everybody. Congratulations for the success around selling a simple idea. I'd like to do the same. I'd love to follow in the footsteps and be a million books out there for a simple concept. But the danger becomes, like you had said, is that when people think they know it. I mean, I saw that with The Secret, and I understood it from the beginning because I was listening to Abraham well before The Secret came out, and I was like, okay, this is oversimplifying. And people then decide that, oh, this must not work because I tried it and then it didn't work. And I'm like, okay, well, what
right.
exactly did you try? And what exactly do you understand? So let's talk
and
about,
and
yeah.
and they turn it on themselves like, oh, all these other people are getting this success. How come this isn't working for me? What's wrong with me? How come the universe doesn't support me? They support them. Law of attraction works for them, but it doesn't work for me, when it's a universal principle. But we don't want to use it as an excuse to beat ourselves up, right? To be able to be in compassion and curiosity of, what am I needing to know more of? What am I maybe not understanding that I can then learn and then apply? I mean, not turning it on yourself that there's something inherently wrong with you or this universe isn't supporting you. I see that all the time.
Yeah, that sounds like a core wound pattern,
Yes.
which is sort of what I deal with all the time because people want to, and the survival state of deciding and making a quick judgment about something. Because some of us, that's how we process emotion. We go extreme, good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no, left, right, black, white. And it's like, no, 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 it's not that black and white. And it's understanding how when we look at something, when we experience something, we all have multiple factors of ways in which we interpret information. And
Yes.
so we have to, if we don't take those factors into consideration and we jump to a conclusion, then we're cutting ourselves off at the knees because we're not understanding, again, like you said, the complexities of what goes into something. And we don't learn curiosity. We don't learn compassion. We just make quick judgments out of a need to protect ourselves, out of a need to what we think makes sense of things. But then it makes it worse because
Yes.
now we have a belief that's not true. But because of law of attraction, we keep making it true over and over again because we keep attracting more situations to reinforce it, but we don't understand the big picture. So for you, when you're dealing with your clients and your audience and the people that you work with, and some of these simplistic ideas and concepts are coming into their awareness, and you're like, whoa, like where do you start with them?
Well, the first thing is, so let's just call call a spade a spade. We're talking about Mel Robbins and the book Let Them theory, right? And it's a great concept because literally it's taking universal laws. I've been talking about the seven essential laws for eons. And the two laws that are important to understand, and it's not that simple, but the let them is the law of detachment, and let me, because it's two parts to that theory. It's not just let them, it's let them, which is law of detachment, and it's let me, which is the law of allowing. And when you're dealing with someone that's like in the throes of, say, fight, flight, freeze, right? When they're in the drama triangle and they've been used to being the rescuer, the good guy, I'm going to say yes to everybody, even though I'm saying no to myself and I'm not considering myself, even though it's a no for me, but everybody else expects me to do this. I'm just not going to go let them, because there's more to it. There's more of a pull. There's more of a, if I let them, or if I say no and let them be disappointed, they're going to abandon me. And now it's like every ounce of your, your childhood traumas are coming up, because it's like, I can't have them be upset with me because then they'll abandon me and then I'll be left alone. So there's all of that complexity of understanding why someone has a hard time just with the let them, let me, right? And the part of it is that the law of detachment is about letting others do, feel, think, speak, behave in the way that they do, as long as it's not in disrespect to yourself or harming yourself, or because you can't say, oh, just let them leave me, right? Then there's going to be consequences for yourself. Let them abandon me. Well, then you're going to be left holding the bag. What do I do with that? That's the law of allowing, right? So there's so much to this that we have to understand, that it's sometimes like unwiring, sometimes pulling at the threads to understand, why do I still rescue that person? Why am I playing the victim here? Why am I persecuting and blaming other people, right? Why am I not feeling empowered? And that curiosity instead of judgment, right? That curiosity and compassion for ourselves, that's what helps us get underneath the hood, so to speak, to understand, where is this behavior? Where is that thought? Where's this imprint coming from? And what can I do, law of allowing, or can I do to heal that for myself so I'm not attached? It's like, remember the game tug of war when we were kids? That's what it feels like. It's like this constant tug of war. And when you can really apply the law of detachment and the law of allowing, now they're free and you're free, and you could relate at a totally different level, not from the drama triangle.
Great. As you know, I'm writing my fourth book, and the drama triangle makes its way into there because you can't teach. I feel like I can't move forward with the core wounds and how it connects to allowing without that perspective of understanding and be able to assess with people, am I in a victim state or am I in an empowered state? Am I off the triangle in observation, or am I in the triangle in reaction? And one of the things you were mentioning about the attachment versus allowing, it's also even getting out of the paradigm of that one affects the other.
Right.
Because as I'm sure you teach, no one else can vibrate for you. So your frequency is emitted from what's going on inside of you without circumstance of what's going on in the world and in response to what's going out in the world, and not basing our reactions or our frequency always on reacting to other things outside of us. Like if you don't know how to sustain a frequency, no matter what's going on in the world or in your family or in, I mean, that was how I became a master of law of attraction, was my marriage and getting out of it and getting divorced and learning how to live in a frequency that no one could see, that didn't exist. I was
Yeah.
happy, I was like, literally no one in my life knew that I was going through a divorce or that I was having issues in my marriage, unless you hung out with us, and then you knew, or you were really like close on the inner circle. But otherwise, I mean, I was authentically a happy, positive, person who worked out my emotions. I wasn't repressing anything. I was working out the emotions. I was in therapy. I was doing my emotional processing things that I teach people, but I was also choosing to live in a frequency of what I wanted, not of what my reality was. And that is one of the hardest things that people don't understand about law of attraction. And they think that they do it. When you're looking at what is and you're reacting to what is and you're demanding that what is changes, but you say you want something different, it's why I don't, and we talked about this when you interviewed me. It's why I don't love the word, and I'm not shaming anybody for using it. So please, if you love this word, it has nothing but positive emotions for you, use it. But I don't like the word gratitude. Because every time I hear somebody, 9 times out of 10, say, I'm grateful for something, what I feel is the story of the negative. I feel what they're grateful for because of what they overcame. So it's not, the frequency is not in alignment with the appreciation or the elation or the freedom or the joy or the love of whatever I've overcome, like where I am now. My frequency is dominated by the story of the hardship that I went through. So that simple, I just did a talk recent, like somewhere locally at a networking event, and I had everybody do a rampage of appreciation exercise. And someone had asked me, why did you use appreciation instead of gratitude? And I told them, and half the room was like, oh yeah, I can feel that. I said, it's not across the board. It's a word. Your frequency is your frequency about it. But I'm going to tell you that most of the time when I hear someone say, I'm grateful, I hear, because I was in such a bad place, right? And
Mhm.
that is something that when you see a theory that you're like, oh, let them, like, oh yeah, that's easy. It's like, oh yeah, law of attraction, that's easy. And or vibrate high. Yeah, that's easy. But you don't know most of the time what's underneath. Like I did a podcast episode called The Energy Underneath. Our actions are observable in a neutral way. Like, okay, so I exercise. All right, so what was energy underneath my exercise? Am I exercising because I love myself or because I hate myself? That was the birth of Fit to Love. There's a very different application of energy to that action, which is going to result in something very different. I am not going to get the same results when I attempt exercise from a place of disdain and self-hatred and self-loathing versus self-love and really attending to myself and my future. And so
Amen,
I know,
sister.
right? And so just with that idea, there's the emotional work that needs to be done, I think, in what both of us are doing in the world. Like there are the concepts and then there are the practices, and the practices require you to learn something new in order for you to shift into whatever you would like to receive. Yes?
Well, there is the concept, there is the theory, but then there's the actual practice of the concept or the theory, because that's where transformation happens, right? It's not, we could think, oh, I know that. I have clients that say that to me all the time. Well, I already know that. I'm like, yeah, but you're not applying it because it's in the application of it. If you really believe that what you send out, excuse me, comes back to you, you will be more mindful in the thoughts that you're thinking and the words that you're using. So I love that because, I'm a big proponent of watching your words, right? I watchyourwords.com, like free video series on 30 specific words and phrases that pull our energy down immediately, constrict us because they're based in lack. And when you know what to change it to, and that, you're feeling yourself, then you change your words, you change and shift everything. So it's just at to the micro level of that application of even your words. And you use gratitude. That's something that, right? Budget for me, my husband used to say, what's the budget? I'd be like, I hate that word. And he's like, well, we can't just, go willy-nilly. And I'm like, could we use a different word? Because budget for me means limitation. It means you can't have what I want, right? And so we started in our family, we say allocate. All right, we're going on a vacation. What are we going to allocate for funds? So now we're not just like, let's spend it all. We're being mindful, but I'm not like, one time you came in, we were about to go on we were going on an Abraham cruise to the Mediterranean, and he comes in my office and he's like, all right, what's the budget? And I'm like, no. So that's where allocate, birthed itself. So if there are words and phrases that you are using that pull your energy down, I've got 30 of them for you, watchyourwords.com. And they work every time because when you use those words, they constrict you. When you change the words to something that feels better for you, you're more expanded. And that, just even those shifts of frequency, is working with the law of attraction to bring you more of what you want and less of what you don't. But
Right.
it's in the application.
Right. It can be this simple. You are attracting what you believe. So if you are getting more of what you want, then you're on point. You are attracting what you believe, and what you believe is good. But most people don't understand what they believe. They
Yeah.
think they understand what they believe on a conscious level. Because I can say, I tell a story on my show and with my clients. Years ago, I was dating a guy, and he had gotten rid of all this. He had like his favorite girlfriend or whatever, like his best girlfriend, and he had all this stuff from her. And when he met me, he got rid of all of it, right? It was sort of like the declaration of like, you're now the most important person. And it must have been that energy, because in that relationship, I observed myself doing things that I'd never done before. I was obsessed with, like, he was writing poetry, so I started writing poetry. I was taking our picture and putting them in frames. I was putting the poetry in frames. I was buying him bears and roses and chocolates. And anyway, it was just this weird, like, I just take a step back and I looked at myself. I thought, what are you doing? This, are you afraid he's going to forget you? Now, my conscious brain said, no, that's ridiculous. He'd never forget me. He got rid of all of his most favorite girlfriend stuff and replaced her with me. He'll never forget me, because logically, it makes no sense whatsoever. Well, then I did the Holosync. That's when Holosync had come out. It was like 2000.
Oh
It was
yeah,
like
Bill.
2004.
Oh, bless Bill.
Right. And I did a Centerpoint Holosync little session, with my Walkman at the time, and I'm laying in the bed, and I got the earphones on, and that, it's just tones and water sounds and things. So there's no words or anything, but the thought came across my forehead again of, do you believe he'll forget you? Just like, like a sale sign at Kmart. Like, do you, and it came across my head, and this time it dropped down. It pinged me kind of in my soul, and then I started to cry. And I
Mm,
went, oh my God, I believe this. But my conscious mind did not know I believed it. But
yeah.
my subconscious was like, but you're crying now. And if you look at your behavior, take out the argument and the defensiveness of that it's logically not true. Look at your behavior. Look at what you're doing. You're acting from a place. You're buying all these things, like solidify your place in his life, because you know this isn't going to be forever and you don't want him to forget you. So I say that because we have these ideas that we defend, but
Yes.
then when we look at our reality and what we're attracting and what we're living, people that think that they're vibrating high, yet they have disease.
Yeah.
They have their bodies out of whack all the time. And they're having issues, but because they play the happy card. Doug, Doug. So I love Doug, and he's not like this anymore. But there are a lot of, he's a Sag. There's a lot of Sages. One of the Sages traits is over positivity, which in our speak would probably be spiritual bypassing, where
Hmm.
somebody decides to be happy, and it's almost like a physical, like overcoming of it, and they decide to, like, I'm gonna, and like the neck jets out, like we get cut off from our heart and our soul, and we decide to be positive no matter what's going on in my body and no matter what I feel. Well, that shit leads to anxiety attacks, and that
Well,
stuff leads to repression.
you know what it reminds me of? I love this. This is a saying from Abraham Hicks. It'd be like driving in your car and your gas gauge goes to empty and you stick a happy face sticker on it thinking that you're going to be okay. No, you need to pull over and get the gas and fill your tank up, because the happy face sticker is not going to do anything, right? And so this whole, you and I've talked about this before, just be happy, just positive vibes. It is. It's like we're human with human experiences. This is the flow factor, which I know that we're going to talk about. But we live in a world of polarity. We live in a world where we will, no matter how high vibing we are, we're going to experience contrast. And there's going to be contrast. The more we can accept that there's contrast, what happens is there's contrast, and then there's our resistance to the contrast. That's optional, right? But if we are in a space of already in resistance to that contrast, that's us. And there's information there for us, not to judge ourselves, not to beat ourselves up or to drag us back into the drama triangle with the contrast, but to really understand, what is this contrast, this situation, this circumstance, this person, this relationship, this whatever. What is this a gift to me? Because it's not about learning, it's about what's the gift. Because once I transition past it, the gift is more freedom, it's more joy, it's more expansion, it's more empowerment, right?
My favorite word is transmutation.
Mm.
So when you talk about contrast and the resistance, when we can, and actually the second chapter in the book is called "Embracing the Catalyst," and because without the contrast, we don't have clarity, we don't move forward, we don't get to the next level of accepting and allowing and expansion, because the contrast is what takes us there. It's the bridge.
Yeah.
If we make peace with it and learn how to pivot. And if we don't pivot, if we don't take that energy and transmute it into what we want it to be, because it is information, it's some information of what we don't want. Okay, how many times are you going to beat that drum? It's information of what you don't want. Thank you for the clarity of what I don't want. Right. So if I keep talking about what I don't want, what do you think you're going to keep getting? More of what you don't want. So how do
Right.
I take this energy ball and put it into the positive? How do I change the momentum so that it's not distracting me or detracting from what I want? It's leveraging and helping me get what I want. But that's the gap that people have a problem with, because most people, I guess I'm going to make this statement. I think the biggest problem with people in law of attraction is they really don't have they cannot, they have yet to learn the skill. You can, I believe you can. They've yet to learn the skill of how to literally live in a frequency of what you want before it ever manifests
Yes.
in an authentic, full-bodied,
Consistent.
embodied way.
Yes. And consistent way. Yeah.
Right. But
100%.
and the work you're doing and the work I'm doing is the bridge that we're trying to get people from the concept to the doing, but it isn't that simple. So what I think is funny is that when people, there's another author that does some other work that I think the concepts, I'm just keep my mouth shut. I'll tell you later.
I know exactly. You don't even have to tell me. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And
Eh,
here's the thing, not to judge anybody else in their work. Like you said in the beginning, everybody, the success, the work that they're doing, it all has a place, right? So it's not to ever cut down or, diminish anybody else's work, but it's like, let's go deeper with it so we could have true
right.
transformation.
Right. I just realized this recently. It was really fun to work with one of my groups. I did a course this year called Healing the Mother Wound. And we got together for 5 days. It was the longest amount of time that I had a group together before we started a program and did the integration work. And it was a very interesting, like I'll have the mastermind and and they'll be here for 1 day less, but I'll be a little bit more exhausted, a little bit more depleted. But Healing the Mother Wound, they were here 1 day more. I did most of the cooking, which I don't normally do, and I was energized. I had felt this peace, this integration that was new, and I just noticed it, and it was really interesting. But I asked them to help me fine tune, in this space, like because I'm writing the book and I'm working on the proposal, and who is it that I need to attract? Because I've done so many things, because I love the creativity of living in the space of allowing. Of you get the download, you act on it. I've noticed you've been creating all kinds of things, right? Because you get the download, you act on it. You get the download directly, and you have your conversation, and then you act on it. And that's like the fun part of life, is being in the
Totally.
creative space of getting the download and taking the action. And so, for me, it's how do I fine tune in a nichey way that feels 100% right and on, that doesn't feel hokey or doesn't feel like I'm just trying to do it for business reasons. And so when I found that, I got this new burst of like creativity. And I think it's that we want to attract those who are already doing work. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like I'm
100%.
for people that are either therapy has failed them, they do not feel like therapy helped them be different, or you've gone through therapy, but now you realize like you want more. There's so many people that come from 12-step programs, or they've done therapy and they're like, okay, so I'm functional, but I'm not happy and I don't love myself. And that is like what I'm working on, is like, okay, let me help you love yourself really,
No matter
truly,
what,
deeply,
no
no matter
matter
what.
what,
No
no
matter what.
matter what the contrast is. And you don't beat yourself up for the
Yep.
contrast or resisting the contrast, but love yourself no matter what. Oh,
Yep.
thank you,
And the
JJ.
You're welcome. And the blocks that we have to understand are there inherently for all of us. They're different blocks, but we all have them because of the way we came into the world, because of our upbringing, because so many factors and it's not overwhelming. It's actually quite fun. It's like peeling back the layers. And as you get more into sort of who you really are, then less shit bothers you. And you can easily let somebody, because you recognize it has nothing to do with you, right? It makes it more simple than this concept that sounds really nice, but most people can't do it. Just like the concept of law of attraction sounds nice, but most people can't do it because they're not ready. Whether it be it's a soul level, it's an emotional resistance, it's just not part of their dharma. It's just not part of their plan on this earth at this time. They're not gonna learn it. Like you and I are talking to the elite. I don't mean elite in a like better than way. I just mean in the people that are really truth seekers. They're
They've
truth
done their
seekers.
work. They've done their work.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're on board to do the work, and they understand that there is something better at the end, that some not at the end, but like at every turn there's something that feels better. There's something that looks better. There's something that there's no end point, that this is sort of the journey that we're here to have as a human being incarnated in this lifetime. Otherwise, if it was all bliss, we never would have come down. We would have stayed non-physical if we just wanted bliss all the time.
Right.
But it's that balance of, yeah, it's work. But man, is it so good. It's so freeing. It creates more joy,
Rewarding.
more love, more acceptance. You and I are talking to those people. And
Yeah.
some of these other authors are talking to the masses who would like to believe that it's that simple, who aren't ready to do the work yet. So I appreciate having the conversation because I don't obviously get to go that deep with as schooled people, obviously in law of attraction speak, because we want to oversimplify. I mean, please, I'm working on like the book. I came up with a new title because, and I don't know that it'll stick. We'll see what happens. But I mean, it's going to stick for me, whether it gets purchased or sold there, because I wanted something that was universal, something. But then the subtitle was where like the rubber meets the road. Like, okay, here's the title, but are you ready for this part? But I
Right.
can't put the second part on the top, otherwise nobody's gonna want it. Like they'll be like, oh, that's too hard. But oh, if
Yeah.
I do this, I'll get that. Yes. If you do this, you'll get that. And if you're ready, come on board. And so let's talk about the flow factor because that's the newest book coming out for you.
So excited. Yeah, I mean, the culmination of all the work. I mean, universal laws, the drama triangle, the whole entire, like who we have become, who we are, the 4% of us, right? I said in my book, Quantum Success, who we know ourselves to be, all the imprints, our history, all of it is only 4% of who we really are. The 96% is our soul. It's our divine. It's the unlimited, infinite, potential of who we are and what we come from and what we have access to. So I like to think of it as like, keys on a piano, right? I have a piano in my office. Like those keys over there have potential to play Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Mozart, Van Halen, right? They have a potential to play any and create any song, but I'm the piano player. I'm the one that has to hit those keys. And same thing with universe. It's like the universe holds all of those frequencies, all of those vibrations, but it's me, the human being with free will and choice. What keys am I going to play? What song am I going to compose for myself deliberately? And we get to have that choice. And sometimes we hit a note and we go, "Oh, I don't want that in my song." Right? So we choose a different, "Oh, yeah, that feels better." Right? And but it's available. All of the keys and all the emotions are available, but we can't suppress any of it because then we can't hit the higher emotions either. If we cut off this part of the piano, we're not going to get the full range of what we could experience as that delicious song. And that's
Right.
why I know you and I talk about we're here as humans. The soul needs the human as the human needs the soul. And when they're two come together, that's bliss, right? That's an understanding of, okay, I, the human, am in a negative emotion, which always comes from lack. Lack feels bad. And I also have the power to focus on neutrality, to focus on a place of compassion. So I am showing myself, not other people. Yes, you could go there, but you can't give out what you don't have. I first give myself that compassion instead of judgment. I give myself that compassion instead of the criticisms or being in the drama triangle, beating myself up or anybody else. I bring compassion to whatever I'm going through. Contrast doesn't feel good, but when you give yourself compassion for either attracting it, experiencing, pushing against it, you come into neutrality. And that opens up the doorway for abundance because it's not just the law of abundance, it's a law of sufficiency and abundance. And so by understanding that even parts of our psyche, parts of our imprints, part of the 4% that got imprinted or it had trauma, those parts still can be healed because they're just holding on to energy. They're holding on for dear life of a concept that they made or a decision that they made when they were 5 years old and didn't know that there was a different decision to make. They're still working from the fight, flight, freeze, which is we're all animals. And it's a huge coping mechanism that all of us have. But when we're stuck in the back part of our brain in that fight, flight, freeze, fawn kind of thing, we can't have access to the higher centers, to our intuition, to our faith, portal, which the council calls our third eye, our faith portal, to have that higher insight and to access the higher mind. And so when you can understand there is another option, we don't have to stay stuck in the fight mode. Now, I don't mean just I'm going to fight you, like put him up, JJ, right? Douche, right? It's the fight, the resistance, the push against, the whole concept of I don't want that, so I'm going to avoid that pain by pushing against it. That's the fight, right? Instead of moving towards the pleasure. And then, of course, the freeze is I don't know what to do. I know you hear this all the time. I do too. I feel stuck. I feel like something's blocking me. It's like a common language that people in personal development, it's like, I feel like I take one step forward, two steps back, or five steps back. It's like, I'm stuck, right? That's that fight mode. And then there's the flee mode, this is one that's so misunderstood, is that's where vices come in. I got to leave myself, get out of myself, go run away from myself and have that wine, have that joint, have that next cup of coffee, have that donut, eat the M&Ms, whatever it is. Don't yell at me for wanting to take vices. I don't want to take vices from anybody. I just want you to live a happier, more aligned life. Because if you're out of alignment, here's alignment. If you're out of alignment and you go fleeing towards a vice, you're moving yourself further in alignment, even though it's like, that hit gives you temporary relief, your vibration is still where you left it. Exactly what we were talking about. So that flight mode, whether it's I'm out of here in a relationship, or you're in your mind, like, I got to get out, that cutoff that we do in the drama triangle, right? Just all of that all or nothing, or just really wanting to, even with, I see this a lot with women, do more. I'm going to take this on and this on and this on. I'm going to say yes to everybody just so I don't have to be with myself. Like all of those are coping mechanisms that we learned, but there's a better way, as they say, right? It's flow. And flow exists. Flow of what? Flow of joy, flow of abundance, flow of success, you name it. It's the keys on the piano. Those keys, those vibrations are there, they're accessible, and we just, as a piano player, need to tune into it, play them.
Definitely. We're focusing on exactly those four things at the live event. So, for those of you that don't know yet, you haven't heard, Christy's going to be joining me at Unleashing Your Manifestation Power in October in Redondo Beach, October 17th through 19th. And actually, as of the recording of this and the publication of this, there is a 2-for-1 deal going on right now. You have probably 24 hours left to grab it. I had done a 3-hour unlock the hidden link between your nervous system and manifestation, in which we started to uncover, and I gave everybody a test to find out which survival state you were: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And actually, I just learned that one of my clients today said to me, well, I was all of them. I went, oh my God. Like for me, I was one strong, and then I had one answer in each of them. But I didn't realize, wait, guess you could be all of them.
Yeah.
But this is important information to know, because then it helps you to figure out what to do about it. I love gathering information and using these different frameworks. You don't need to beat people over the head with like 3 things to get to the same answer. As long as I find a framework that works to shift our understanding about something. And so instead of just jumping from the unlocking the hidden link between your nervous system and manifestation to the October event, I thought, we have some time. Let's do something. So I created something called Becoming Magnetic. And we're going to continue working with the nervous system and get us all prepared for the October live event, where we're going to be doing the biggest practices to really make that difference in your nervous system and rewiring and creating new neural pathways. Because as most of you probably know, when you're with people, the frequencies get embedded a lot faster, a lot deeper, and last a lot longer than when you're doing something virtually. Virtually is great. I love virtual. It can help people across the world get access to things that they don't normally have. But when you want transformational change, I tell people, if you just come to the live event, period, you don't got to do anything. I promise you're going to walk out different. You can't help it. The amount of energy flowing in that room that's going to reprogram yourself subconsciously is enough. However, you can get more out of it by actually doing the practices. So Christy's going to have her book there. She's going to be selling her book, but you want to buy the book before then. And we're going to talk about that again on the next show, on getting a hold of the flow factor, and when it comes out and before it comes out, doing a pre-order, of course, and all the different practices and things that are involved in that book. In terms of this, and it's funny because I don't, I think you and I are so tapped in And it's like I had Dr. Kelly Brogan on the show when she had her book out last year, and I was doing the embodied healing intensive that year, and we started talking about this whole idea of embodiment, and it's all throughout her book. And I said, look, I want I didn't copy you. Like I'm not following you. I'm not trying to copy you, but like we're literally doing some of the same work right now. Hers at a
Yeah.
much bigger level, but she's like, "Oh no, I get it." I'm like, "No, seriously, like I like because we feel the call. We
Yeah.
feel the call of here's what people need on this evolution of this conversation of vibration, frequency, law of attraction, of allowing and letting. Like we're tapped into, all right, here's what the collective who is focused on this work needs now to make this more embedded and integrated and realized. Yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, you go to kindergarten, then you go to first grade, and you second grade, you go all the way, you keep going, right? And that's why I always say it's like I'm a master teacher, and I know you are too. If someone that just came into personal development heard this, they'd be like, what are they talking about, right? Because we're talking high concepts and we're talking about energy and we're talking about frequency. And, we welcome that, but it's like we need teachers that are going to be very basic, Dick and Jane, right? And then you also need to help people go to a depth level and understand the intricacies of fight, flight, freeze and the intricacies of the drama triangle so that someone can lead them out of it. And it's like, how do I know? Ask me how I know, because I've gone through it, right? I've had my own rolling around in the drama triangle and figuring out how to get out of it and what are the tools. And that's how I've developed and had downloaded them because I've been in the muck and the mire, and it's like, geez, I don't want to go back there. And I'm so grateful that I have the tools so I don't have to when I do, because we're all human. We
Oh
just
God,
do,
yeah.
right? Oh, hello, the fight, flight, freeze fawn exists. It's a coping mechanism. It's hardwired, like the bunny in the desert to the human being. So it will happen. But the tools to know how to get out of it, that's what's key because you don't have to stay stuck in it.
Right. And I think it's also the resilience of how quickly do I recover.
Yes.
I want to talk about that on the show in the next couple of weeks about recovery time because when there are people who do the fawning, okay, so let's say it's someone who fawns, which means basically that you are a people pleaser, you're overgiving, you put someone else ahead of you, you're doing all the things. So people pleasing think, oh, well, you're not a people pleaser because you're a nice person. Sorry, you're actually the biggest manipulator of them all because you are trying to stay safe. Sorry, I don't mean to judge you in a negative way, but I'm doing it to like slap you and then hug you and be like, wake up. When you tell yourself that I'm a people pleaser and that that's a good thing, no, that's a manipulation because you are literally acting in a way that's trying to make somebody think or feel or react to you in a specific way so that you feel safe. But the ridiculousness is you can't control what someone says to your face and then turns around 10 minutes later. Who knows? You don't know for sure how they feel about you or what they would do. So it's an illusion anyway. But you're
Yeah.
doing a lot of work, a lot of tap dancing, a lot of performing for love in order to get somebody to like you so you feel safe. Anyway, we can short circuit that and like get to the end of that by doing something different. And when you were talking about the contrast and it not being comfortable. Yeah, most of the time it's not comfortable and we don't like it. However, you can learn to laugh at contrast and have a different relationship with contrast and be like, "Oh, what's coming next?" Well, that
Yes.
just crashed and burned. All right, the universe has something bigger in store for me, right? Or what do I need to get clear on now? Well, that was barking up the wrong tree. Like our relationship to contrast can change, so we don't spend so much time in the victim triangle. I mean, we all get there. I mean, I've even done it this year. I've been in the victim position more this year than I have in the last 10 years. Man, is the universe priming me. I was like, what? Like I actually feel like I'm back in my marriage. Like I learned so much during that time and I appreciate learning that. And now it's like, okay, well, here it is again at a different level because it's time for me to expand to the next level. And so you can't really expand if everything's hunky dory going the same way that it always does. Like,
Uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable, but I know how to get out of it. And all of it to say that how resilient are you? How resilient are you to recover when a contrast happens or when you're out of alignment? We're all going to get there and we're all going to be, and that's fine. That's what we need as humans in this lifetime. You're never not going to be out of alignment in your life. But how long do you stay out of alignment? How big does the momentum get? Do you add to it by creating story and talking to 10 people and complaining about it and continuing to beat your head against the wall? Or do you know how to pivot? Do you know how to look at it differently and interpret it differently? So this whole idea of, because I've had a client that I noticed her perfectionistic tendencies, I saw her get really like very closed off. Like she went into probably flee mode, a little bit of
Mm.
flee mode, a little bit of resistance. And I thought, what's that about? And I thought, oh, because she's normally perfect and she wasn't, she did something that was not perfect. And so now she's punishing herself and she's pulling back. And I thought, well, that's not very resilient. So I want to talk and I want to speak to and get this idea of like, you fall down, you get back up again. And our growth is how fast do we get back up, or how nice can we be to ourselves while we're down?
Yes, and the compassion that we give to ourselves, because again, that compassion is neutrality. And instead of, there's a graph that I have in the flow factor, which is like I have it imprinted in my head now, and I'm so grateful that that downloaded. But it's like we're either in a space of judgment, which brings us down into drama triangle, lack, criticism, all the behaviors that we don't like to do, and we're sometimes reactive and all that, or we're in compassion, which leads to neutrality, which that's where we can find satisfaction, fulfillment, peace, harmony, or we're in abundance, which is like like the highest vibrations of joy and excitement and creativity and all that. Everybody wants to be there. But the whole spectrum of life is sometimes we get into that judgment or sometimes we get into that place of contrast. But the choice is, do we judge ourselves or do we have compassion for where we're at? We get into that neutrality because then we don't go down that spiral of lack, right? We're in that space of, okay, I'm all right. Things are going to be okay. This is working out for my highest. If not this, something better, right? And then we can find the higher vibrations, but not if we're in the throes of, I suck and I should have known. And oh my God, things don't ever work out for me. And I don't know what to do. And, we all go there, but it's like, how quickly can you get yourself back into that compassion that I just beat myself up for about 10 minutes? Compassion, because that didn't feel good, right? The energy of compassion, the somatic touch of what compassion can do for us, and then the words of affirmation.
Nice. Yeah. Lots to do and lots to learn, but all good stuff that we can take and use. And again, I'll just say, as Christy was saying, you're going to know by what you're living. So what you're attracting, if you don't know what you're feeling, and then what your dominant emotion is. So I was asking when I was speaking at this little event, I said, what is how do you know where you are in your frequency? And I forget what somebody said. I don't think anybody got it, but I said emotions. They're your emotions. What are you feeling? Like, what are you talking about? What are you ruminating about? What images are you conjuring in your mind? What are you speaking about? What are you talking to others about? What do you, if, and like, and what's the energy underneath of it? Are you acting from a place of survival and urgency? Are you acting out of place of alignment and inspiration and passion? I recently am starting another podcast. And I say it like that because
What do you have, like 30 now?
I know. Well, so I'm in this, there's a local group called Ventura County Businesswomen, and I, lived here now 4.5 years, and I don't know a ton of people. I mean, I wanted to know more women business owners that were local I could have coffee with or tea with or go on a hike with. And so I thought I saw this come up and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go join. I had no interest in business actual stuff because in my mind, I want people to go through the podcast, get to know, go like and trust me first, and then step forward versus me do the tap dance of here's who I am. Because even if I do that, the stuff I offer, it's high touch, high level stuff. It's not, I mean, I have courses, but they're not little things. They're not little tchotchkes or like, right? It's like big stuff. And so I'd rather you go build a relationship on your own time and like learn and figure it out if I'm the right fit for you. So, but I joined. So I joined. I have no attachment, law of detachment. Literally walk in, just sit down, listen to people, see who I vibrate with. I'm like, oh, I like that person. Let's have coffee. Let's have coffee. And then after a couple of months, Tawny, who started the business, it was about 2 months ago, and we were at the Ventura County one, and just sitting in the circle. I had asked her to do circles, which she was like, that's so cool. I'm like, everybody stand up, everybody get in a circle, everybody talk about what they do. Not that we weren't doing that. And I'm like, why isn't everybody doing that? I don't want to. Anyway, so I've helped to shift that a little bit. But then she's talking about this Elevate series that she has on her website. And it's basically like your written story, everybody writing their story about their business. And I thought to myself, oh, no, I'm not going to read that. So as I start to walk over to her in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to read that. The download game, do a podcast. And I went, oh. I don't need another podcast. And so I said, Tanya, let's do a podcast. And she went, oh, no. But then all of her like goosebumps came up and she's like, yeah, we need to do that. I don't want to do it. I'm like, I don't want to do it either. So it's been
So
this.
now you're doing it.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I'm in like launch mode right now. We're launching on September 3rd, but it's called West Coast Women Rising. And so it's not just about Ventura County businesswomen. It'll be anybody West Coast women, entrepreneurs, and change makers, and eventually. But right now, I'm just focusing on this group because she doesn't want to be 100% involved, just sort of a little bit involved. So, but again, I'm just trusting. I don't know that, is there opportunity? Sure. Do I need it to do something for me? I don't. But I got a huge download, body chills, super clear, didn't want it, don't want to do it. But it's the trust piece and how many of us are actually moving forward with our ideas and our beliefs. We have ideas, we have these messages, but we don't act on them. And that's a disconnect too that I think the work that you're doing, the
Huge.
work I'm doing could help reconnect because we have so much fear about so many things that we can't even trust ourselves or the universe to take an impulse that we know is burning desire inside of us and act on it.
Yes, exactly. Because we get stuck with the fight, flight, freeze, instead of flowing with it. Because what if you flow? What if you flowed? Wait, flowed. What if you flow? What if you let that idea or the energy of that flow through you without cutting it off, right? What if that flow of that idea, you know, built into something? It's like, don't stop it or block it or try to just let it flow. And just what could it be? It's like, what do you do with an idea? You nurture it. You laugh with it. You discover with it. You visualize with it. You entertain it. You don't doubt it or fear it or push it away or fight it or, any of that. It's flow comes in those spaces and you just don't know what you could create from that.
That's also including the law of detachment and allowing and surrender and trust. If
Yeah.
we just go with it and we allow that to come through. But I think that is, depending on how left or right brain somebody is, that's a problem too. So lots of different tools and things that we can do. So in the flow factor, and again, we'll talk about this more on our next episode, but just briefly in the flow factor, I'm guessing you're going into, I heard drama triangle and I heard, are you doing the survival states also?
I am, yes. I go through fight, flight, freeze, fawn, how it relates inside the drama triangle. But the best part of the whole entire book, and I talk about the 5 levels of consciousness, like our words, our thoughts, our feelings, our perspectives, and our actions. But the biggest thing is that at the back of the book, the subtitle is Energy Mastery to Enter a State of Flow. And so the whole entire second half of the book is energy mastery practices broken down into the 4 different bodies that we have. So if mentally you're spiraling, what can you do to let go of the spiral, the fight? So if you're fighting, right? What do you do to let go of that? So you have process after process after process. If you're emotionally stuck on something, if like physically something is going on with your body, right? So the different levels of our bodies and how we could pick and choose like what processes will work for us in that moment based on how we're either thinking or feeling or, acting.
What's going to be really fun as we move closer to October is you and I brainstorming on I know we've already talked about what you will be presenting and working with people on, although, of course, as we both know, that may change in the second before it starts. But to combine, because a lot of the practices I'm going to do during the weekend are focused on the survival states and how we embody something different and using
Yeah.
physical practices in the space, not just physical things, all vibrational things, but doing it together, doing it as a group, doing it and being able to have people sort of in their groups of like, which survival state are you, right? And being able to help them really move and reprogram some of this. So it'll be really fun to talk about how we can do it from, from different perspectives, how you can add to that, how I
Totally.
can add to that, and to really take people through a meaningful and transformational event where you walk away different. I almost can promise you you're going to be different because I have people coming for like the 6th event. Why? Because it changes them so much that they want more. They're not done. So, if you're listening to this, if you've ever been thinking about coming to a live event, this right now is the best time because you're going to get a 2-for-1 deal with Becoming Magnetic and coming to the live event. So make sure that you sign up today. Becoming Magnetic. It's jjflizanes.com/becoming magnetic. And I'm also going to put in the show notes the watchyourwords.com. So the link for Christy's Watch Your Words series. And then probably even the Flow Factor. I know we're going to talk about it again soon, but if you want to get your copy now and get that out of the way so you know you have it coming the minute that it publishes, we can do that too. So any final words, Christy, you want to share with everybody?
Yes. So just know that there's human tendencies that we have, right? It's wired in every single one of us. And when you bring in that energy of compassion, because sometimes it's not easy to be a human. Sometimes the contrasting things could be stubbing your toe and that sucks, to all the way to, your dog passes or your mom, or, you have heartbreak. And so it's in those moments that self-compassion neutralizes you. It doesn't make the things suddenly go away, but it helps you enter a very different state so that the next breath, the next moment, the next step you take can be from an empowered and connected and aligned place, not from lack and limitation. So everybody can do this.
Beautiful. And we hope you'll join us in October.
Yay.
Get your tickets now, and we'll see you back here soon, Miss Christy. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks, JJ. Appreciate you, honey.